I've worked with over 10,000 people over the last 20 years, from elite athletes to business leaders and everyone in between. What I notice is that most people are so focused on effort and strategy to create results rather than their state. So today I'm going to talk about the state of being. So one of the things I want to share with before we actually start this is being, doing, and having is a premise that I always express with people. And so being is present, always listening to the signs. And then from that place, when you're able to fully be present with yourself, which basically means to be able to be honest, which is what we're going to go through today, talk about accountability and your state of being. If you're really honest with yourself, the results that you're getting, you'll understand, are just a mirror to your consistency or your lack of consistency. So that's being. And then doing is you do from a place of being. Once you're fully present and aware and accountable, when you work from that place, you actually get far better results, honestly. And then the have shows up. So it's being, doing, and having. The Western world has it almost in the opposite way. They are only present when they are fully achieved. So they do have, and then from that place, they try to be present. But you sacrifice so much to be able to get to that point when you work backwards. You must work forwards from the self first. You must build your life first. Your business is a byproduct of the vitality, the energy, the cognitive ability, the level of presence and honesty that you have with yourself. And so, as you see this chart here, I'm going to talk about accountability. And so many people, you might see this in yourself, think they're doing really well with their diet, but yet the mirror shows them something opposite. They're not losing that weight. They're not dropping body fat or increasing lean muscle mass, whatever it may be. And that's just a brutal honesty. There's a saying, what you eat in private, you wear in public. And you've probably heard that saying before. And it's the same when it comes to productivity and performance. If you're trying to scale your business, as a lot of my clients that are 7 to 8 figure founders are always seeking to do, you have to start by scaling yourself. You have to improve the energetic container because that gives you the capacity to build your business from. The business is only ever a reflection of you, moment to moment. You birthed the business. You gave it a name. You gave it a logo or a face. You gave it an identity. It's from you. And so when you see this chart here, what I'm going to talk about is accountability and how this relates to your state. And it's one of the reasons why when I work with people, I have a look at the metrics and the diagnostics, not my point of view or my opinion of whether they've improved. I obviously have my opinion, but I quantify that with data. So if you think you've been training 4 days a week, we can see on the data if you have. If you think you are fitter than you were 6 months ago, the data tells you we have a look at the breath holds, we have a look at your resting heart rate, we have a look at all the things that relate to your breathing, your capacity from the metrics, and that tells us where you're at. And so many humans have mastered the art of deception to the point where they've learned to lie to themselves. And most people do this and then they wonder why they're stuck. And it's because they're not being brutally honest enough with themselves to not just chastise themselves, but to be able to be honest enough to know where they're stuck. A lot of professional athletes do this, and athletes in their mindset, they represent almost like the 1% of the world because the outcome is the results. If you're a tennis player, to the degree that you did or didn't create, or perform better, is based on the choices that you chose prior to the match. And you can see the ramifications or the results in real time, and thousands or millions of people see that around the world. So that forces a level of accountability and brutal honesty to that player. The same can be said for any sport because the result is out there. There's no debate on it because you can see your performance. And so we get to do that with ourselves when we're not an athlete, but we are a business leader or a coach or a guide. And so this is one of the things I really set with my clients. A lot of them are 7 to 8 figure founders. We're looking at the problem that they have, which is trying to build their business or scale their business through force. And they always can do this, but it's always at what cost? The cost is to their self, their health, their relationships. And so when you see this chart here, you can see it's all about increased productivity. And you can see the arrows going down. Once you reduce organ stress and reduce inflammation, it helps improve productivity. You may say, well, how? I thought productivity was to do with output and negotiation and seeing what the market is doing. And yes, all of those tie into it. But again, it all starts with you. Like I said, you birthed a business, you gave it an identity, it comes from you. So, what has been shown in studies is that when you are stressed and burnt out, adrenally fatigued, and all these sort of things, you actually have a reduction of your cognitive ability by 15 to 20%. So imagine your business is at a 20% loss because of you, because of your lack of clarity. So when it comes back into the organ stress and inflammation, whenever there's stress in the organs, because the organs are the priority system of the body, they are the generals in the army, not the foot soldiers. Think of it like this. You cannot survive without your liver, but you can survive without a bicep. The muscles are nowhere near as important when it comes to survival of the body as the organs. Can you survive without a heart? Can you survive without lungs? Or can you survive without a foot? You might say, well, I can't get around. Yeah, you can order online. You get my point here. The muscles are secondary. That's why the organs are at the top. It's the highest priority in the system. So if your organs are stressed, it actually reduces the demand on the muscles. And it then also has a topple effect where the demand on thoughts and cognitive ability are reduced because of the level of stress in the body. The body is always trying to work at the lowest level of stress, or what people call the path of least resistance. So how do we lower organ stress? Well, we have to look at our nutrition as a priority. So are you honest? Do you eat only clean, organic, or certified organic, or biodynamic food? Just be honest with yourself. And again, this is not for me to make you feel bad. It's just about brutal honesty. And the level of food quality that can determine the level of inflammation in the system. Because if you're eating food that has carcinogens, toxins, fillers, binders, and all these sort of things, then the after effect of that will be inflammation. And inflammation has to be quelled by the body. So the body diverts energy from the clarity of mind towards the priority of lowering organ stress. So let's just think of it like this. You have energy that comes in from food, it gets divided into productivity from a cognitive point of view, into ability to maintain the health and integrity of the organs and the glands, and then into the muscles of the body, because the muscles themselves, as they pump, they help to move waste out also. So are you brutally honest with regards to the stresses that you are intaking? And if you're not, then I would say start with water. The solution for pollution is dilution. But just by drinking more clean water, such as spring water, some of the best waters on the planet, have the most amount of life to them. So structured water, spring water would be some of the best water you can drink. Molecular hydrogen water is at the top of the scale. Again, you can do your research on clean water. Fiji water is really good. Vittel, Abbey Well, natural spring waters. Look into these things. We want to reduce our stress on our organs. And a lot of that can also come from how fast you chew your food. The average person in the Western world chews their food 6 to 8 times per mouthful. What that basically means is the food particles are still so big that when you digest them, you're almost forcing the food down. And it puts a strain on the digestive system, which increases organ stress. So those are just some quick examples. Maybe if you guys comment and you want a deeper video on nutrition for productivity, I'll do one. And then we look at structural misalignment. The best posture is the one that uses the least amount of energy. And so if you sit at a desk for 6 to 12 hours a day, chances are your desk is quite low and you're over the desk, leaning your head forward, your shoulders drop in, it depresses the sternum, the weight of the head presses down. So you're depressing the sternum, you're actually getting less oxygen into the body. You need oxygen to help your brain. So that's reducing cognition straight away. And then how are you training? Are you training just for aesthetics or are you training for function? And if you're training for aesthetics, it has a poor correlation to function. If you just train the front of your body without opposite intention to the back of your body, you will be in bad posture. Your resting tone relationships change. And so therefore it puts a strain on the amount of available energy moment to moment, which again takes away from productivity. Then when we look at the brainwave states, and you can see here fragmented brainwave states, most people, I say this all the time in my videos, most people that are productive or trying to be 7 to 8 figure founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, they operate in the beta brainwave state. And the beta brainwave state is necessary, but you can't maintain it all, but you can, but you shouldn't maintain it all day because it's a very hyperstimulating state. This ties directly into ADHD. There's so many people, they're in this ADHD sort of mindset. And most of the time when they're in this mindset, they are working so hard to maintain this, mindset. Just checking that I am actually recording here. So, they work so hard to maintain this mindset of doing, rather than being fully productive. And so this beta brainwave state should only be done for a short period of time. And then we want to exit beta and then move into what I call intentional alpha, which is rest and recovery, recuperation, stillness, intuition for 5 to 10 minutes whilst at work, and then go back into intentional beta. We should oscillate between these two, otherwise we burn out. And it takes 25% of your energy just to think. So the more you can regulate your nervous system and access the alpha brainwave states, the easier it is for you to create enough cognitive thoughts to improve productivity. And then finally, we get into low energy and fatigue. The byproduct of all of the three above creates the result below, which is low energy. Because if your body is constantly waging a war in itself to offset inflammation, almost like trying to out a fire constantly because you have organ stress, that is very fatiguing to the body. And it's the same with your structure, moment to moment. You're structurally fatiguing your body, not having the same level of output moment to moment. And then your mind is racing faster than it should because you're in this beta brainwave state. All of the byproducts of that create the low energy and then offset that into fatigue. And then what you just use is effort and strategy in a diminished body to create a result that allows you to scale. But again, it's the cost of all of that because you're doing it in a diminished state. And so you may say, what's the opposite of that? Well, as I said earlier, the opposite of that is the way you chew your food. So start chewing your food with intentions. Put the fork or knife, so fork or spoon into your mouth. Take it away. Chew. Put the spoon or fork down until you finish chewing. Then take the next chunk. What's the race? Why is there a race to eat? The more you chew, the more you taste. So drink more structured water, high quality water. Chew your food slower. Eat clean organic food. Structurally, don't just train for aesthetics. Start to train for function. However much demand you place on your front of your panel or the front body, place on the back of the body. Mix up strength training with stretching. Don't just be tight or flexible. Don't go to one extreme and just do yoga or just do weight training. Do both. Combine it so you have a body that's functional and flexible. Go and do structural balance and go and get some structural alignment done. See a therapist or a practitioner that can actually help you align your body. When it comes to the brainwave state, spend more time journaling, doing Tai Chi, Kegel, breath work, rebounding. Get a rebounder into your office if you're in the office a lot of the time. That helps to pump and flush the system, relaxes the mind, stimulates the receptors of the brain to actually be more relaxed. Start spending time in the alpha brainwave state, which is these things I just mentioned, journaling, all these sort of things, moving you into the alpha brainwave state. And once you do those things and you address that, you'll actually find you have more energy. As an example, stop going for coffee and stimulants to get energy. Just stretch. When you deform fascia, which means to stretch tissue, the tissues in our body they actually create, once you stretch, an electric energy, which is an electrical charge that stimulates the system. So you actually feel more awake when you stretch. When you just stretch alone, you feel more awake. Again, try it, see how you feel. So these are some of the things that you should do, and they will help you increase productivity because the foundation of your thoughts is coming from your body. You know, a saying I always share, your mind's primary vehicle of expression is the nervous system. And so once the nervous system is centered and regulated, you actually think without the same level of stress. And when you don't have stress, when you think, you gain clarity. And if you gain clarity, you improve productivity. And if you improve productivity, you scale faster, you make better decisions. And then therefore, as you see on the right side of the screen, you have a higher output, therefore greater success and more fulfillment because you are doing things out of better choices. And so before I finish, one of the things you can do, if you want to identify where you are with the levels of stress, because I tie this into my tier systems, I rank everyone in terms of 5 tiers from reactive to calibrated, from tier 1 to tier 5. If you want to know where you are in the tier system, attached to this video is my free 90-second quiz. It will help you to understand exactly where you are in your own productivity. And then it's for you to then decide, what do I do with that? And then you can also join my newsletter where I go through more of the stuff, as well as my Telegram group for soul aligned leaders, which are all connected and all linked down here. And if you're ready to go deeper into this work and to actually work one-on-one with me through my Energetic Alchemy proximity container, where I specialize in working with 7 to 8 figure founders to help them regulate the nervous system and scale from state, not effort, then there's also a link for you to apply to work with me in my one-on-one container. All right, guys, if you like this video, like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated so I can grow the channel and share it with more people that you think might get some benefit to this video. Until next time, stay legendary.